every time, you know. I mean, just, you know, from outside in looking in, you know, my dad, he can get me to the door. He can't keep me in the door, you know, and stuff like that. But, you know, when I really strategically thought about my career and saw kind of like the next 2-3 years ahead of me, you know, I didn't even want that bring me to the door thing, because that's kind of like half the work cut out. Right. And I still kind of want to be respected for, I still want to be respected for everything else, you know, whether it's the music, whether it's, you know, the acting and stuff like that. And just like she said, like once I dove into the acting and stuff like that, like I found like a new kind of form of expression that I can express myself that I really can't do anywhere else. Like even with music, you know, the music is its own thing, you know, the acting is its own thing. And of course, you know, the bigger I get, whether it's the acting or the music, I'm using, you know, both platforms to kind of like, you know, complement each other. You know, that way it's like I'm able to really put my work in and people can see it and respect it rather than just say, oh, that's Diddy's son, yeah, you made that call, you know, which is, of course, I get it, you know, I can't run away from that, but, you know, it's finally time for people to, you know, really recognize me for me and see what I do. Yeah.
Right. So you all started from a place of we'll call from the bottom and started taking gradual steps. When did you say, okay, this is serious, I need a manager, I need an agent, I need to, like, for real? When did you really recognize, like, oh, I might be onto something?
Probably within, like, the past year, I guess. Things have just been moving so fast for me right now. And sometimes I just sit back, like David said, I'm just like, wow, like this is really happening. Like I have a team, I have a management team, I have a stylist, I have this, I have agencies, and it's like, again, I would have never expected that this would, no, but it's a blessing, you know, because at a time in my life, I was very lost and just didn't know what I wanted to do, and now finally things are coming together, and I love it.
That's right. Inspirations. Everyone has somebody they look up to, role model and mentor. Let's start with you, Brandon. Who are some people that have inspired you along the way, continue to inspire you, and or mentored you throughout your process?
As far as the screen, I always watched, of course, for dramatic, I always watched Denzel. I always watch how he, you know, what he did in films that make people want to watch him. You know, certain actors have captivating, you know, things that make you want to watch. Denzel's the best at that, you know. But then for my comedy, I always watched Martin and Eddie, and Chris Rock. You know what I'm saying? Because they all have a certain, especially Chris. Chris Rock has a very, you know, social commentary on society. He's able to talk about society. We all laugh at it, even when it's uncomfortable. Especially these times, we need comedy now with all the stuff going on, the cops and all the other stuff. Somebody got to make light of the situation, and to be able to do that, if you look at some of our older, you know, older people that used to do it, they made fun of how society was,
right.
And it flipped it on its head, and people were able to laugh at it, and you know, bring races and everybody together. So people like Eddie Murphy, people like Martin Lawrence, people like Chris Rock. Guilty pleasure comic, and it's Cat Williams that do it. You know, careful. But he, you know, not saying his personal life, but his way of flipping society, I always like that. So that was kind of my thing.
Quincy?
Somebody who I just idolize is The Rock.
Really?
Yeah. Everybody look at me like, yeah, it's The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. I mean, I was a wrestling fan, you know, growing up, and see his whole transition and him as an actor and that whole thing, he just gives me like a huge like feeling like, you know, I want to be like him just because I know I can be like him. Okay. You know, but it was from that, it started with the wrestling, you know, and musically, you know, I grew up like listening to a lot of old school cats, you know, I'm talking about Barry White and Al Green and stuff, but then, you know, growing up, like I was into Craig David, you know, I was into Usher, and of course the, you know, Tribe Called Quest, you know, that stuff, and that kind of stuff just gave me, you know, good feelings, good vibes. I want to, you know, produce music just like that.
We've been in the gym for a long time to look like rock, bro. Karrueche, who are your current inspirations or past inspirations?
For me, it would be Victoria Beckham.
Nice.
She is the epitome of a woman. She has a whole package. She has her business, she's so fashion forward, she's very family oriented, and that's a goal for me. Wherever